Make sure it's going through since we're still kind of new to this. 205. Am I live? I don't think I'm live on 205. You said it on your end?
It says we're live. Yes, it says we're live on YouTube. I don't know about
Well, we're not on Facebook. Let me click it. Well, it says you are live on Facebook too. Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
I guess we're live. I just don't see it on there. Oh, it says current. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. We're live. Okay. I just wasn't seeing it on my end. Who else on here? Do we have anybody on here yet? Probably not. May just be us right now.
That'll be fine. Most people watched it, after we shared it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Like if they come on, that's fine. If not, we'll keep it going. Let's see. Show comments on stage. Does it do? I don't know what that'll do. We'll see. I finally got rid of that little banner that was there last time, but now I've got something else that just showed up, so I'm gonna get rid of that. That little banner was across the bottom last time, so I don't know what was up with that. So yeah, man. So I guess we'll go ahead and just get started, and we'll treat it like a podcast or live stream, however we do it.
That's fine.
So I'm Freddie Dillard, 205 Aerial. This is Luke Walden, Walden Deer Recovery.
Walden Whitetail Recovery.
Whitetail Recovery.
Yes, sir.
He is the man when it comes to stuff. And so
it's a good time. The dogs and the drone, man. It makes it interesting.
I'm telling you, man. I keep saying, well, we both keep saying it, man. If you just team up, if you're a dog tracker and and you got a drone tracker that you can work with, man, and vice versa, great teamwork right there. Put fear on the tailgate.
We talked about it last week. There's always certain situations where you need for everything.
Yeah, and we talked about it, and we've seen it a couple of times to where like I'll go in, like I don't know if we talked about it last week, but we had the one where I went in and was looking for one deer, and we actually didn't find that deer, or I didn't find that deer that night. But I found another deer. And so that deer was, he had pretty much a lethal injury, but they had already had a dog out there, had a drone out there, could not find the deer. We see him with like an arrow stuck in him. So I called you. I'm like, hey, man, I think I know where there's a wounded buck at. And you're like, okay. So, and when I was looking for him, I ended up finding the other deer.
I know, it was crazy. That night was cool.
Yeah, that was a cool one. And then so I ended up like just turning both those over to you, and then you were able to come in and like that following evening and get them both, or afternoon or whatever.
Yep. It all worked out.
But without those two working together, because that one deer, he had, like I said, I don't know if he was still giving off interdigital. I don't know how long that lasts from. And you could probably talk more about this from the dog tracker standpoint. How long, once they go to that first bed and they lay there for however many hours, do they still give off interdigital SIN after that, or how does that work?
So it all depends on where the deer is shot. So if you've got a gut shot deer that you hit it, center punch the deer, and it runs off and it lays in that first bed. Well, in that first bed, depending on if it gets jumped by the hunters or jumped by coyotes, now we restart the timer of the track. It's considered a new track, if you get what I'm saying, each time that deer gets jumped. And we restart our timer. So the interdigital gland is nobody really knows, and you can talk to any of the dog trackers, and we've seen some crazy things. Like some leg shot deer put off a ton of interdigital gland, and you'll be able to find them. Some neck shot deer put it off, some don't. Some gut shot deer put it off more than, and we could go on and on. But one thing that you'll notice is a lot of deer that are hit will put it off initially. That declining health pheromone they will put it off for, it's not like a light switch, if you get what I'm saying. Okay. So what it is their body feels that and they're like, oh crap, I'm gonna die. And then as they run, that gland in the bottom of their feet just ends up wearing off over time of them running. Well, you'll see a lot of times on not fatally wounded deer where your dog will go in there and get to running, and you'll go in there about give or take 150 yards, and they'll start doing circles, and you're like, well, what happened? What's going on? And then you sit back and think about the shot, and you're like, this is a non-lethal shot, and therefore your dog's coming back to tell you that.
Mhm.
And that's where it comes into handlers knowing exactly when to stop.
Right. Yeah, because I've seen some, where they, we've talked about it, where the dog will track, for even a leg shot for, several hundred yards, even, and then you end up finding the deer like the next day or something.
Right.
And I think we had one the other night that you guys had tracked, and I went back, and unfortunately we were unable to recover that one. But the deer, remember, it was the leg shot. I think we were thinking that it had two in it, but it was only really one good shot. And then
Yes.
we go in, we see the deer laying. I mean, the deer had been laying in the same spot for 24 hours. And we see it there, and all of a sudden it just kind of gets up, starts walking. And I mean, I followed it for what, 1,400 feet or something,
Yes.
400 or 500 yards,
Yes.
and 1,600 feet. And I was like, well, this deer's not dead. And
So we really thought the dogs really had a hard time the day before
yeah,
tracking that deer. We had two old dogs out there tracking, and they were just putting the nature's book together,
yeah,
and we ended up finding the deer. We ran the deer, bayed the deer, but it just wasn't. I mean, we had two dogs that got injured on that because we didn't realize what we were dealing with. So you
yeah,
never know, and that's when it comes to a point of the handler's idea. Okay, you got to go through everything in your mind, play the whole scenario back of, that's when we were talking about the questions last week. That's where them questions really come into play on where is this deer hit and how, if is it fatally hit, and that's the handlers watching their dog and how they react.
yeah. Yeah.
um
And you guys
it
did the right thing. I mean, like y'all got in there and you said, okay, this deer, this deer's now, y'all can tell it's bedded down.
you know,
And once you realize that, you're like, okay, maybe he's going to lay down and die. So you backed out. Yeah, y'all ended up calling me. I went down there. We found that would it take like 10 seconds or less?
Yes, I mean, it was no time. We knew exactly where that deer had crossed the creek, and I knew he was going to lay back down. And I called, and I was like, I know exactly where he's at. Um, this deer's already hurt two dogs, and I just want to make sure it's still alive and not laying there dead. And
Yeah.
whenever we picked up the drone, as soon as you got over the truck, we looked, and sure enough, the deer was laying right where we thought it was. So it
And
worked out.
we watched him for a few minutes and he ended up getting up and just, I mean, he trotted on, crossed a creek. I was
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
and this deer was, he had laid in one spot for 24 hours. It was, I mean, you would think this deer was dying. And
absolutely.
I mean, it's just they're so resilient, so tough.
Yeah.
But that's just one of the times where both of them working together. Like if you guys went back in there with dogs, you stood a good chance to get your dog injured again, or something bad happening.
And not to mention, we had a highway right there beside us too, and
Right.
running dogs off lead. Yes, you do have control over them, but in a 50-yard span, it's hard to press that button quick enough to get them to stop.
Yeah.
And plus, you don't know what the situation is when you get the dogs in there. So
Yeah, and speaking of having the button and stuff, did you? I know I think we've talked about it a little bit, with the malfunction last weekend, man.
oh man, we didn't even I don't even think we got started on that last week. So yeah.
That was just crazy, dude.
What day was that?
That was, I think it was Saturday or Sunday. It had to be.
Yeah, when did we do the podcast last week?
I think we did it Friday.
Friday. Yes, it was Sunday. So let me give you guys the backstory on this. So I got a call from a guy down in Randolph County, or no, it's Randolph City. I'm pretty sure that is that Perry something. It was
Yeah.
Bibb County. And so I got a call down there, and guy had bone and some meat, and we knew it was a leg shot. And so we get in there, and it's probably 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we go in, and we see if Shy goes out about 150 yards. Well, her collar just shuts off completely, no communication whatsoever. and I'm running through the woods trying to catch up with her. I don't see her. I don't know what's going on because she hit on that deer as soon as I let her out of the box. And we get to running, and we never catch up to her. I have no clue where she is. And at this point of us, getting everything together and trying to figure out where she's at, well, I called Freddie or I called you and was like, what can we do? Can you please just come over here? I know you've got other stuff that you said you got going on, and you were supposed to go see Christmas lights, but I've got a lost dog. Is there any way you can come help me? And luckily you did. And um, I was telling you, she's baited this deer up. I know she's baited up somewhere. Now, where she's at, nobody has a clue. I didn't even have a general direction of where she was because 100 yards don't tell you anything about which way a dog or a deer has ran. And, then the hunters, they were like, yeah, I heard a dog barking in there since 12 o'clock today. I'm like, well, there's my dog. Where is she at? And we go down there, and Freddie had been searching for an hour at this point trying to
Yeah.
find her. And we still haven't found her. Well, the hunter coming out, I was like, well, let's go back to where the truck was and just see if she has came back. Well, the hunter goes, yeah, she's been down there barking for about an hour and a half now. And I was just going to see if y'all knew where she was. Well, I get off down in the bottom, and this joker has done tore the butt end of this deer off. I know it sounds terrible, but whenever she turned around and seen me coming, she was like, thank God, where in the world have you been? And but it turned out to work out in our favor for sure.
Yeah, and they were able to find everybody get their deer and everything. But it was just, when I first got out there, I saw one that looked like Shy running, man, and I was like, oh, I'm on her, just right off. And it was a coyote. I guess deer don't really react to that drone a whole lot, but man, predators do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they just, I don't know what the deal is, but they always look up, and coyotes will just they'll get out of there.
Yeah, I guess it's situational awareness.
Yeah.
Them coyotes, you'd think prey would have it, but they don't. They just could care less about it. It's just like how they talk about when deer hunting that you need to hang your stand between like 10 and 12 feet because that's where less predators come from. And especially on your bigger does that look up straight up in a tree whenever you get going out through there. If you're 20 foot up in the air, they know what you are. So I'm guessing that's the same way that them deer think about that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I know that coyote he looked like Cheyenne running. I was like, oh, Cheyenne's the only thing I've ever seen. She looks like a rocket going to the woods.
She's part coyote.
She's got to be, man. She's got that predator drive. You can see it for sure.
No, it's good.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. So I got a couple of topics on here I want to definitely get to. We're going to start with, and we're just going to go with it, man. Bad shooting. Speaking of,
I have done told you I am putting on a statewide shooting school in August of next year, and you have to pass it.
Yeah.
If you don't pass it, and we are going to have, so what we're going to end up doing is we're going to go out to a shooting range. We're going to start at 25 yards, not further, 25. And whenever you graduate from 25, we might get you out to 75, but no further.
You don't want me shooting at a running buck at 580 yards? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, man. They see. So on a serious note, there are a lot of hunters and a lot of guys don't understand ballistics on a rifle round.
Yeah.
Now, if you're shooting 100 yards, it really doesn't matter. Obviously if you're shotting in your rifle at 100 yards and you are only going to shoot 100 yards, which it's very rare in the state of Alabama to shoot over 300. It really is. But even in that amount of if you're sighted in for 200 yards with a 708, people don't really understand the amount of drop at 300 or 400 or 500. And really learning the ballistics of your cartridge is a big thing, and we see that a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think like my 30-06 it's sighted in at 100 yards, and I was looking. I shoot a 150 grain. I was looking at the drop earlier, and I want to say I believe it was 250 yards. It was around 4 inches, 4 or 5 inches drop. Was a drop in there. and it really goes up exponentially. So you get up to 300 yards, and it's like almost a foot. I mean, it's a lot of drop in there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we had I'll tell a story that we went on the other day, or yesterday. Me and TR went on a track for two deer, standing 20 yards apart from each other, that a guy had shot on the other side of the valley. And that was every bit of 300 and probably 400 and some odd yards. And we asked him, hey, what caliber gun are you shooting, or what's going on, and how in the world did you hit this deer? Well, he goes, well, I was shooting a 308 and I just put it at the top of his back and I'll sight it in 100 yards.
Yeah.
Well, automatically, we knew he had hit leg if he hit anything.
Yeah.
And we went in there, sure enough, leg shot deer, and we pulled off of it. Got burned, got the brakes blown off of us, but we pulled off of there. And the same way with the other deer, it was the same exact thing. And if people would learn their ballistics, they could shoot a lot further and a lot more confident.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of times, and I've made this mistake before. So when you're zeroing your rifle, there's a cold bore zero, and that's what you're going to shoot when you go out there and shoot at a deer.
Absolutely.
And then there's just going out there and, hey, I'm just, I'm target shooting.
Yeah,
and
shoot a whole box of shells trying to sight a gun in.
Yeah, if you're shooting 20 times to sight your rifle in, probably need to get it bore sighted and do some other work before you go to the range. But when I go to the range and shoot, I'll normally take one shot, and then I'll give it minimum 10 minutes. Normally I try to go 15 minutes in between shots to give it time that barrel to cool down some.
Make sure you open that bolt, let it cool down.
Yeah, let that thing cool down. If you're shooting a hot barrel when you're zero, and you get out there, and it's 30 degrees or whatever, and your deer stand, and you got to take a shot. There's no telling where that thing's going.
Right.
It's not going to the deer.
I've seen a good friend of mine shot at 100 yards, and I go, there's not really any reason to miss at 100 yards. I mean, not even hit the deer. Yeah. And the deer was eating out of a corn pile, and you sit there and wonder, like, what happened? Well, I got to asking him. I was like, well, did you sight your rifle in? When was the last time you sighted in? What happened? And he goes, well, yeah, I sighted it in about 3 weeks ago. I'm like, well, the only other option is did you allow your bore to cool off before shooting at a deer? He goes, no, I've never heard about that. And whenever he went back to shoot on a cold bore, he was almost 7.5 inches off.
Wow.
So it does make that big of a difference at 100 yards. So you could imagine what it could be at 200, 250, 300.
Oh yeah. You're not even touching deer at that point.
Right.
Yeah. At least at 100 yards, you might get a leg shot.
No, we don't need none of those. No. August shooting school. The books are getting full, guys. Y'all better book now.
I'm telling you. But it's those fundamentals. We learn them in the Army dealing with M16A2, man. It's side picture, side alignment, breathing, trigger squeeze, cheek to stock, all those things, those little basic fundamentals. If you get those down, man, and get your you probably won't need us quite as often. Now we're probably getting rid of some of our business by telling this.
No, I get tired of chasing them things down, Freddie.
You guys end up having the bay. You guys, at least in the daytime, you end up in bay situations, but your dog at risk.
Right. There's a lot. I love finding dead deer. I do. Yeah. It's a lot easier that way, and it's a lot safer on the dogs. But that's what in a certain sense, that's what we're there for. Right. Just to not have wounded deer out on the property.
Right.
So when the thing is about a bay is you get in there, and if you've got, let's say you're trying to work a younger dog, and a younger dog gets in there and ends up getting hurt, man, it's nice running them dogs on the dead deer. So just take your time and focus on what the shot needs to be. And please make sure these deer get killed ethically and easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like we were talking about earlier with the two deer that we found on that property, just us working together, help, really get those two recovered. If you don't do that, the other thing is, I promise you, if that dog can go in there and catch it, a pack of coyotes will surely get it. And you
Absolutely.
got there's a video. No, it wasn't you. That somebody posted a video. I saw it on Facebook today, where a buck, or it might have been a video. Yeah, it was a video where a buck was standing at a feeder and there was a coyote circling it, pretty much.
So
And
that was, I'm pretty sure, I don't know exactly where that came from, but I seen where one of the dog guys, Chad Bailey, had shared it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that really shows what we're trying to keep away from, because if you keep feeding the coyotes, the predator population just booms, and that's the last thing that we need.
yeah. And that all stems. I mean, yeah. So the first thing we can do to help keep that from happening is just hunters make a better shot. I think the other thing is drone pilots, dog trackers probably need to, in a lot of areas, just lay down some pride and kind of learn how to work together. That'd be helpful.
Absolutely. Man, if everybody could work together, Freddie, we would really be on to something. There's so many new, and another thing, not even just the drone to dog guys, but some of the young dog guys going with these more experienced dog guys and learning, and these young drone guys going with these more experienced drone guys. That right there is, you learn a lot, because Jason Smith's been doing it since '97, and the Joker's still learning something new every track he goes on.
Oh,
He could tell you everything you ever wanted to know about tracking, but he's still learning every day.
yeah. And like me, I've got a lot of flight hours at this point, but man, I sit down with Ryan Hansen last week, and he came over the house for a little bit. And dude, I just realized I don't know anything.
Right. Right.
You talk to somebody that's got a lot of experience with drones and stuff like that, and you're like, golly, man, that guy's just a wealth of knowledge, not just on drones, but shooting and all the other things too. It's really a shot.
Yeah,
but,
Ryan's a phenomenal dude, man. Every time I've got to talk to him, we've kind of became distant now just because he's going through everything he is. But man, talking to him, he's got a lot of knowledge, not only on the deer tracking and the drone stuff, but just hunting in general.
Yeah, because he does a lot with he does a lot of stuff. A lot of research. He's involved in a whole lot of stuff in the deer community and hunting community. So it's like I said, he's just fun to talk to. I met him, on a whim. I think Jonathan had introduced me to him, and I had him on the 205 Outdoors podcast. And like I said before, that was my selling point to going and buying a drone was after talking to that guy. I was like, yeah, I'm totally going to do this. I was on the fence, and after that interview, I was like, man, we're doing the drone thing for sure.
Well, you end up having fun, especially when you talk to somebody that's experienced like that and has all these stories to tell, and finding these deer, and heck, just getting a fly in it, Freddie, it's fun. Some of the tracks that we've went on, just looking at some of the deer, even if we don't find the right deer, man, you see some deer that you never knew you even had on the property.
Well, and that's the cool thing about bringing the drone out. I mean, we're looking for your deer, but also I've got to weed through a whole bunch of other deer. You're going to see bucks on your property you probably didn't know about. I can think of one, man. We went to I think it was one in Coaling that we went to, and gosh, there was so many nice bucks on that property. I mean, a lot of them were chasing it, and I was like, dang, there's some really good properties out there, man.
30 yards from the truck.
That's right. It was right next to the truck running. I was like, God, nobody would believe this. If I didn't have video, and nobody would believe it. And then what happens? My controller, I guess somehow a lot of that video got deleted off of there. So I don't know what happened with the controller. Some kind of malfunction. It deleted that one and one of my other tracks. I was like, dadgummit. But I don't know. It's that new RC Plus 2. I don't know if it's a bug in it or I just hit the wrong button. I mean, it definitely could be that.
Right.
You can go back and look at my M30T and realize that I'm very capable of hitting the wrong button. So.
Hey, you proved that one to us, Freddie. You sure did.
And this goes out to the drone guys right here. So if you got an M30T or you got a 4T or whatever, RC Plus or the RC Plus 2, most people know this. I'm an idiot for doing it. I'll go ahead and put myself out there. But I was flying, and I had a lot of people in my truck. I had the hunter in there. I had several. Of course, they had several people. It's cold. We're flying, and we're kind of watching the drone screen. I got another guy that's kind of watching the drone itself, and so the screen just kind of goes blank. And I'm like, "What happened?" He goes, "I don't know, man." He said it was up, and then it went up. When you went over that mountain, it kind of fell out of the sky, and I was like, "Oh crap!" Well, this is what happened when I sent this thing back to DJI. warranty was voided because I was in sport mode. Now, I didn't realize it was kind of loud in there. I think the remote will tell you, hey, you're in sport mode. Obstacle avoidance is, it's not going to work when you're in this mode or whatever. So the drone tells you, but when you got a whole lot of people talking, you don't always hear what the drones say, what controllers say, and that's what happened. I bumped it with my finger and put the thing in sport mode. So anyway, long story short, I had to eat that cost, and it was a lot of money. So a couple of motors went out. I mean, it's like around $3,000 to get the thing fixed. So
You called me crying.
yeah. I mean, thank God I had the 4T. I had a 4TD with me. Thank God we got a backup. But I'm like, man, that 30T it's just had a bad deer season.
It
I
has.
covered a couple of deer with it, and then it had the sensor go out. Got that repaired, and then dang if I didn't put it in sport mode and crash it into a pine tree on top of a mountain.
Hey, make sure you explain to them about that rangefinder on the
Oh yeah,
and the altitude.
yeah. So that's and a lot of drone guys may know this. Some of you may not. So where you launch your drone at, that's going to give you your altitude. Your altitude is going to be from that location. I didn't know this for the longest time. Like I said, I may just be the only one that didn't know it, but for the sake of others, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. So what I do now is I'll take my rangefinder, keep it on, and when I'm lowering the drone, especially at night, and you see the tops of these trees, I'll put the rangefinder, at 90 degrees on the top of the highest tree I can find and start lowering. And I still try to keep at least 50 to 80 feet off of that, just to make sure I'm out of the trees. Because if you just go by your altitude from where you launched that on the controller, you may be off by 100 feet or more. It depends on if you go uphill or downhill. So that was a little trick I started doing to help keep me out of pine trees. So
Yeah, absolutely. And back to where we were talking about hunter shooting and everything else. If at all possible, so the most tracked calibers for me
yeah,
is 243, 6.5 Creedmoor, 270 only at close range, and did I say 6.5 Creedmoor already?
yes,
Yeah, that needs two of them. So those right there are the two. I'm telling you, those right there are the most tracked rounds. If at all possible, pick a little bit heavier round. I don't know how to say that nicely,
yeah.
um,
Get a
but
man gun. Come on, man. Quit shooting these baby guns.
yes, get one with a little bit of knockdown power. I mean, if we look back through the years of how many deer a 30-30 has killed,
Yeah,
man, it's just a heavy bullet. That's you can't reach out there and touch them. You're not going to shoot 500 yards with a 30-30. Not saying it can't be done, but
yeah.
where in Alabama are you shooting 500 yards? Let's in reality.
Not a lot of places. And I get it for kids and stuff like that. And my son shoots a 243. We're not hating on them completely, but yeah, I think a lot of times what happens is these guys go out and they get these smaller calibers. They get high end scopes. They're like, okay, I can take a long shot, 500 yards, and then you end up with just a really. Occasionally, we end up with a really bad shot, leg shot deer, or complete miss or whatever, foot shot. And it just, it puts the deer at risk for getting eaten by coyotes, and it makes it a little bit harder on the tracker as well. They have to have a bay dog come in, and it's going to be a fight.
Right. Well, not only that, but whenever you don't have the blood to follow, the exit wound on a 243 or a 6.5 Creedmoor is, people yell at me, shot placement, shot placement. I'm a tracker. I deal with this every day.
Yeah.
I know what gun every single track I go on, I know what the rifle they are using is. So if I had to tally up, those are my most tracked rifles. And another thing is do not get match grade bullets. Get quality bullets.
Yeah.
You can tell a difference. Like, I know my Hornady guys, they're going to sit there and hate on me on this, but the Hornady SSTs, I have had so many this year not exit. And whenever they'll just cut the deer open. Because I would ask them, I'm like, man, go in there and look and see what that bullet did. There'll be little bitty bullet fragments or projectile fragments just all throughout the deer, and it just explode in there. It
Yeah.
never mushroomed out or it never exited. And I don't know why Hornady do better, but I have not been a fan of that
Yeah.
in these past couple of days. And it wasn't just from one guy. So it has happened in multiple tracks. And the deer will be laying, 70 yards, but there's no blood to find.
Right. Yeah.
So
And just so I don't forget, while we're hating on the bullets, let's go ahead and get on those broadheads as well.
pretty right there. So
Somebody used it had to be like the small. It was on a crossbow. It
look,
was a fixed broadhead.
this is a fixed blade Muzzy trocar. It is a 1 inch. We talked about this last week.
Oh yeah,
One
like,
inch, 1 inch diameter.
yeah,
I mean, it's so small. I mean, people are saying, well, it can go through a shoulder. Why are we hitting the shoulder with a bow anyway?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
let's center punch this thing, let it run 100 yards, let it die, then go back up in there and go get it. And let's just go ahead and shoot them, rage. And people will hate me on the rage. I love the rage. That's what I shoot. And that's what, there's a bunch of people that shoot them and they're proven to me. I mean, you'll have, a 3 inch gap or 3 inch slice, and you got to get as much as you can with a bow. I
yeah,
mean, you're not getting the percussion off the rifle like you are, or you're not getting the percussion off a rifle with a bow.
right.
So you need as much slicing power as you can and as much diameter. I'm not saying, I know we're gonna get the comments. I'm not saying they can't kill a deer.
Yeah,
There's just better options out there.
yeah. I promise you, any mode of shooting a deer, any kind of bullet, any kind of broadhead that you mentioned, somebody's going to say, "Kill the biggest deer in my life with that one." I mean, somebody's done it, but.
Congratulations, you got lucky.
That's right. We see plenty of people that got very unlucky with them.
Right.
And speaking of that, I had always been taught, and I think rightfully so, as far as the aiming point on a deer, I'd always been told right behind the front shoulder, just right in there, try to sneak it right in there. You get both lungs, game over. The more tracks that I go on and the more that I see, the more I'm like, man, we need to be shooting back a little further.
Yeah.
Because I think too many people are catching that leg, and like I said, I'm seeing so many leg shot deer. And like, for me, I can see the deer. It's up there hobbling. It's probably going to get eaten by coyotes. But unfortunately, I can just say, hey, you guys need to call Luke.
Yeah.
TR, you need to call one of the guys that can go in and take care of this, because I can't do it.
Right.
And
Well,
so,
how many pictures have I sent you this year of bone, white hair,
yeah.
meat, or fat? How many pictures have I sent you? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm gonna sit here and hate on the hunters for a little while. I mean, I appreciate y'all's business and all,
But on right now, so
but let's do a little bit better. Let's take a little bit more time. On a serious note, let's take a little bit more time at the range. Let's kill these things as ethically as possible. And, let's let the reason why you can't track it be loss of blood, not because poor marksmanship.
yeah, that's the key right there. Like I said, we're kind of talking ourselves out of a job. If everybody
Right.
did right, but and I've been there, man. We get, you get buck fever. You got the steer, especially in the rut. The rut, I almost can give somebody a pass. If you've got a running buck and he's 100 yards running a day, they can just, I mean, at the drop of a hat, they can make a quick turn or something. You can just make a miss. I mean, it
Right.
happens. No real judgment, but the ones like you're talking about where the deer standing at a feeder, standing still broadside, and we're shooting the leg off, or hitting it or missing it altogether.
Right. And we talked about this last week I tell all my hunters, shoot third rib back.
Yeah.
There's less margin for error, because if you center punch in the middle of that cavity with any round, it doesn't matter. With any round, any broadhead, it doesn't matter. If you shoot the center mass of that deer, I promise you I can find it.
Yeah.
I promise you. And if you leave it alone and not go in and push the deer,
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you'll find it. Where a lot of people mess up is going in there and pushing the deer and not giving it a proper wait time and examining the hit site.
Gosh, man, I had a guy the last weekend, and to his credit, he waited 2 hours. He made the shot. You know, we talked about it. The deer had stepped out in front of him, and like it wasn't far, like 80 feet. His buck. It was his target buck. It was a really nice buck, 80 feet, and you know, he kind of just froze. He was walking on the road. Deer freezes. He throws his gun up, and then all of a sudden, deer jumps off in the woods. Well, he just takes almost a Hail Mary at it. Boom. And he just kind of walks right to where the shot was. He saw blood, and he went back home and waited 2 hours. Right. Goes back, and he trails this deer for like 400 yards, and he called me. He's like, hey, I'm hitting property boundaries. I don't know what to do.
Right.
And I thought, let's let it lay for a little bit. I had one track ahead of him. And so I went over there, and I was able to find his deer. I think it was like 800 yards away. It was in a creek bottom, bedded with a doe, doing well. I don't know. I couldn't tell where he hit it. I couldn't get the deer up. You know, it wasn't walking, but it was bedded with a doe, and looked, you know, it didn't look like it was any kind of distress. I don't know. And it never bedded down. He said the whole time he tracked it, he just found a drop. So I'm assuming, I don't know if it's a leg or what, but it never bedded down until it got to that doe.
Yeah. Well, on those deer like that, you know, the Hail Marys, you get excited, but would you rather shoot that deer, wound it, and have a chance, or not another chance to kill the deer, or would you rather take an ethical shot and know that that deer is going to be laying dead at a later date? Because just because you know you don't shoot at that deer, I understand you're going to kick yourself because you didn't shoot the deer, but then you know that don't mess that animal up if he does survive for antler growth and stuff like that, and then in the coming years.
Right.
So
yeah, it's tough. I mean, and I know, man, I've been there when you got the gun up and you're like, you seeing that buck, you see the antlers going through the trees, and I have made that mistake. I mean,
last year I killed the biggest buck of my life last year, and he slipped by me 4 times. Wow. I seen him, and I just couldn't get an ethical shot. And with me tracking, I know I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here, wait, and make sure I can get my shot. Well, he walked out there the next day, and I put it right on the middle of him and let it fly. And you know, he ran off. I looked down there at the hit site and knew exactly what it was. It was a liver and a gut shot. And I backed off. I waited my 12 hours. I went in there, and he was laying 62 yards from where I shot him.
Wow.
And the thing is he was not stiff when I got there.
Wow.
So he had not been dead long.
Yeah, I've seen the ones that I found dead this year I think they were all no, yeah, they were all gut shot. Even the one I found in the urban bowhunter guy, his was he had hit the shoulder and it looked like the arrow kind of deflected back, and I think it went through the cavity. I'm not sure, but it came out way back. Yep. And so if you get it in there, I mean, we're probably going to recover. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. That another one like that was down there in Coling for Cam. When his buck, he snuck in behind that one shoulder right there, and it hit the other opposite side shoulder, and the arrow was still in him and was still alive after 5 days.
That was crazy to you know, when I first saw that deer, you know, he kind of stands up and he's wobbly, and I'm like, man, he's going to die right here. And he sort of bedded back down, and I kind of just marked him, and the hunter went back in there the next day, and they were like, yeah, he's gone. And so we came back, and then the deer ended up being like 100 yards away, and we were able to find it and that other guy's buck. We accidentally found both of them. Right. And anyway, you were able to go in with Shy and get them, which man, that was huge. I mean, that's 2 deer that I felt pretty comfortable without us working together 100%. They don't get recovered.
That's where finding a good handler and a good drone pilot comes in. You've got to have a reputable drone pilot and a reputable dog tracker. I mean, if you just call Joe Blow off the street, you might be getting a dog that's not experienced and doesn't know. You call some guys that got these older dogs and knows what they're doing. And you can call alabamadeertrackers.com, and they'll get you on somebody that's going to be, drone guys and dog guys. We've got it covered. They will get you a reputable tracker. They're not going to just, sit there and go, well, Jason Smith, like I said, been tracking since '97. The Joker knows what he's doing, and he knows who to send your way. And especially, we've got many of trackers all over the state of Alabama that have phenomenal dogs. So
Yeah,
um, we can all work together, and we can get you the right person.
yeah, or the right people. Like I said, right people. If you go in there and one doesn't find it, hey, don't be afraid to try another. I mean, hey, give it a shot. If you know you got a good hit on that deer, man, because like I said on that one, they had already had a drone fly over that deer. They had a dog go past it. Wasn't released enough interdigital. And when I found that deer with the drone, the brush over it was so thick. I was able to I was looking through probably a 8-inch hole through all that stuff, and we were able to see it had one kicker that everybody knew about. They had it on camera, and we were able to identify that kicker and it's like, hey, that's the deer. And after he'd moved, and I was able to tell you, kind of give you an idea on the area that he was in. And I guess Shy was still releasing. He had to be releasing some interdigital.
Yeah, so from that last bed, yeah, she tracked it straight to him from that last bed, and it went down in the bottom right there, and that he met his maker, but we ended up getting it all taken care of. But those deer, this is when I wish we had the picture so we could show the infection that was setting in on that deer.
Yeah. Oh,
I
man.
I wish we could do that. But I'll put it in the comments on
Yeah,
my
we'll put it in the
page.
comments. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
this is episode 2. There is a way. I just don't have the media on my phone. If I had it, or on my computer, if I had the media on here, I could add it. There's a place right here to add media, but I don't have it with me right here. I'd have to go on. I think I've got it on my Facebook channel, but I'd have to pull it off of there.
yeah, no, you're fine.
We'll get it on there. We'll get it on
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize that these deer that are getting shot, there's a good chance they do die of infection. It's not like a human where they've got antibiotics and can
there.
go
Right.
to the hospital and let Freddie work on them, at Princeton.
Yeah.
But we don't have them like that.
Yeah.
So, or they don't have it like that. And, that can easily happen between them just being out in nature. So
And
it,
and that's something that I think that the state needs to look at, and we've talked about it a lot. So the way the law reads right now, as far as for dog, dog trackers, drone trackers, we can't dispatch it all. We can show you where the deer is, and that's it. We have to leave it at that point. I generate a QR code. Your deer's right there. You may want to give it some time before you walk in. If you walk in and you jump it and it runs off, call me and we'll try to look for it again. But that's where it ends for me. I don't go in the woods. But you guys are there, and a lot of times, you're coming up on these deer that are alive. In the daytime, it's no issue. At daytime, you can go in if you need to come in there and Shy's baying it or whatever, and you need to go ahead and dispatch it, protect your dog.
yeah,
No problem.
yeah, no problem at all.
Issue. They need to look on that.
Where the issue comes in is at night. And we track a lot at night. That's the thing is, we go in and the dog can bay the deer up, but I just have to look at the deer and call my dog off of it.
Yeah.
And be like, sorry, buddy, I hate it.
Yeah.
Let's try it in the morning and see if, hopefully he's dead or we can dispatch him in the daylight. The law, but the thing is, Freddie, is the permit, if they were to do a permit, it would get in the wrong hands. But that's with anything, such as cars, guns, anything like that.
Same argument. We always have this argument every year. Every time there's a shooting or something with AR, everybody wants to ban the gun. Well, no, we don't need to ban the gun. We need to get rid of people. We need to get rid of criminals. So with any law, any law you make, there's going to be criminals. You deal with them. But you don't punish people that are following the law just because somebody else may break it.
Absolutely. Well, it is hard if your dog is beta deer, it is really hard to pull your dog off of it because you don't want them to get, especially on them young dogs, you do not want them to get in their head that they're not doing something right.
Yeah.
Because they have done everything right, but how do you pull off a deer that's going to die at some point, whether it be from infection or the shot?
Right.
you have to pull off that deer, and the young dog looks back like, "Would did I not do something right? Why didn't I get a reward?" Something like that. And not only for the ethical and the respect for the animal. So why do I have to wait, another 12 hours before I can dispatch this deer when the deer's in there suffering? Because I wish I knew. I've talked to a bunch of game wardens, and they just give me all the same answer of game warden discretion and all this.
And I
And
want to have one on here. We're going to
yes,
work on that. We're going to work.
I would love to have somebody on here that can give us, make the gray area black and white.
Well, see, and on this platform, we can have, I think it's up to 10 people. It's just two of us around here right now, but we can have up to 10. And, I would like to have a game warden, a few dog trackers, a few drone trackers. And it's kind of like a round table, a virtual round table, and just really kind of figure out, what can we do? What do we not need? What do we need to stay away from? Because there's a lot of questions I have on that.
Yeah.
And I know you guys do too.
Yeah. And what's so cool is everybody tracks different.
Yeah.
So you'll have, because I'm sure some drone guys are different than the way you track, Freddie. And I know I track different than the way TR and Ashley Miner and Jason Smith and Jonathan Goff. And, I could keep going on and on who tracks, and everybody's different and has their own quirks about them. And a lot of those guys have more questions than I do on certain laws. Now, one law that I might have more of a problem with, or have not a problem with, but concerns on, that might not affect those guys as much, in other words. And then they have something, total opposite of me. And I'm sure it's the same way for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because it's tough for us. I mean, like like I said, when you roll up on a deer, you find it. Hey, there's this buck. It's laying there and it's breathing. You can see it. Parts of it kind of hanging out. The deer's going to die.
It's terrible.
And it's terrible. But also if the hunter comes in the next morning and that thing's alive and he jumps it, I mean, that thing may run 300 or 400 yards. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we hit on this from last week is, whenever you jump a deer, the deer's going to run double, if not triple, as far as it was the last time it was jumped or before it was jumped. We seen that with that deer over in down there in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, other than that, it's a good example right there. I don't know how far he ended up going. I mean, I watched him go run out of signal.
Yeah. Well, we were just wondering if it was going to bed back up and just, see. But that joker never bedded back up until you lost reception. And it was like, man, that deer going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, probably die of infection, but hey, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. At that point, and at that point, he had already injured 2 dogs.
Right.
And he was another leg shot. So, I mean, it's just, let him live. He may fight off some coyotes. Who knows?
Hey, the way that he was fighting them dogs in there, yes, it would take 20 of them to get him down. He was ready to go. He was a big, mature deer.
Yeah. But I do think that they need to look at, the way the law reads on that for night. And I don't know if you do it by permit or, I don't know how they need to do it, but, they need to look at an avenue of where you guys can go in and, if we or you just find one, or if we call you and say, hey, look, man, this one, I found a deer, he's going to get up if somebody walks in there, but he's dying at some point, and instead of just, letting the thing sit there and suffer and potentially getting eaten up by coyotes, give you guys an opportunity to go in and legally, take care of it, dispatch it, recover it for the, for the hunter. And, I think that is just another avenue to help reduce predator population right there. The more deer we leave in the woods injured and letting coyotes snack on them, the more coyotes you're going to have.
Yeah, there is a picture of a deer that I went and tracked. We went in there and it was a leg shot deer, and it was around 3:30 one day. This was last year. 3:30 one day, we go in and we jump it. We bay it. And wasn't able to get over there. Shy lost it. The deer was running pretty healthy. You know, the deer was running pretty healthy. I said, hey, let's just, because it was cavity, like shoulder cavity area. I
Mhm.
couldn't tell exactly where he was hit at the time, but he got bait up by the road, so I called Shy off. There was property on both sides, but it was a pretty busy road. And I told him, I said, well, what we can do is we can go back in uh, the next day and hopefully is expired or, you know, I hate to say it, but if the coyotes got them in that amount of time of I think it was 10 hours from the time that I was there to the time that I came back the next day, it was late that night and right in the morning. I mean, it was probably 5:30, 6 o'clock. By the time I got there, there was nothing left of that deer.
I believe that. I mean, and I think we don't know if we talked about it last time or not, but so it's one of my videos. Is a neck shot with a bow, neck shot doe, and I'm running a coyote off of it. Look, this is what the hunter was lucky. I was out at our club. I wasn't hunting that afternoon. I was flying. I was looking at a big 8-point, just filming for YouTube. And anyway, he called me and he said, "Hey man, I just shot a doe. I can't find my area." He shot with a crossbow. It was his first deer he'd ever shot with a crossbow or any kind of bow. He was aiming behind the shoulder, but when he misjudged his distance was the whole thing. I think I forget where he was aiming, but it was a longer shot than what he thought. Well, she dropped and spun, and when she did, it hit her right in the neck. He didn't know that. He just saw her. She fell down and then got up and took off. He couldn't find his arrow, couldn't find blood or anything. He's like, "Can you just please go look with the drone?" And I was like, "Yeah, just show me where you shot her at on the map." And it was close to our property. They kind of border us. And so I went on the backside of our property, put the drone up in the air. I mean, immediately I saw a deer bedded with a coyote. And I was like, "Well, that's weird." So I go down there and the coyote's bedded like 20 feet away, 20 yards away or whatever from the deer. And, I saw that she was hitting the neck. She's bleeding out. Well, I went to change a battery and flew back over there. The coyote had already went in there and killed the deer and was trying to drag it. And I hit him with a spotlight and he ran off. And there's a whole video on it. But we're talking 35, 40 minutes after the shot. I mean, that the coyote was already on that deer.
One of these days, I'm gonna trap me a coyote, and I'm gonna have a collar on that joker. Just wait.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how quick. I mean, they're fast. I mean,
they track on it. They track on that interdigital gland just the same as a dog does.
Yeah,
They know what that declining health pheromone is, and
yeah,
whenever you rely on that, to survive, you get really good at what you're doing.
right. Yeah, and so that's again, that's just another thought is we have to look at the laws on it, man. I keep saying it, but you guys need to be able to dispatch. I get where me with a drone, it's no good for me to be able to do it, but I at least need to be able to refer them to you guys if I find one that's bleeding out, that and say, hey, and you guys be able to go in at night and take care of it. I think that'd be a good thing.
I like running two dogs. I'll always like having two dogs on the ground, and it's not really for the base situation. It's for one dog might, because you'll have Shy go out there, let's say 100 yards, and get hung up in an area, and Cassie will work her way around and will help pick up the line again, and they both get tracking again. And then you get. I think there should be a limit of two dogs per handler, which is what I'm pretty sure it is now, and a dispatch permit. I don't know exactly how they would do that, but we're going to leave that up to the state to decide on that. But if two domesticated dogs can catch up to a deer, I promise you that wild coyote can.
Oh yeah, 100%. And especially, coyotes, they'll start packing. You can hear them just, cutting up. I heard them at the club. I was hunting this afternoon and I heard them, fire off right at dark. And I thought, I wonder if they already got a deer down. I mean, you never know, but we're got to go in the off season and dispatch some coyotes. I know that.
Absolutely. Hey, we'll take care of them. That ain't no problem.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
We'll definitely work on that. So we talked about, one other thing, just from the drone standpoint, and most of the drone guys probably already know this and are aware of this at this point, but just in case somebody sees it and they're not. There was a lot of talk about the DJI, the drone ban, and all that stuff coming with the FCC. Well, that verdict kind of came down this past week. I think it was on the 23rd of December. They got the final notice. So it looks like the drones that are out there currently, so the M30T, the M4T, M4TD, all the DJI drones that currently have an FCC license are okay. They're okay to continue to come into the country, to sell, to ship, all those things. What is not okay is the future drones. They're not allowing any new foreign drones to come in. So I don't know if they've came up with a 40T yet, but if they haven't, and it hasn't already got an FCC license, it won't be allowed in the United States, which kind of sucks. Because I like my 4TD. I like everything about that drone except for the zoom camera. And you've seen it. It's just that's the one area that drone does not compare to me with a 30T. Everything else, I love it. It's a light drone. Everything's compact. It's wind and weather. It's IP55 rated. It's all those things that you want. Spotlight's great, but and the thermal camera is really good with the high definition thermal camera. I like that a lot. But it does not have the zoom camera. So unfortunately, if they haven't already got a license to the FCC, the 40T and all that doesn't like it'll be available in the US at this point. So it kind of sucks. So
what made them decide to do that?
I think a lot of it, man, came whenever that Chinese balloon came over, and then I think it's just more of a national security thing, which honestly, that's what they say. I kind of call bullcrap on that, because if it was really national security, they would have suspended them all.
Right.
I think what it boils down to is that they want you to buy American drones. Well, the problem I'm all about buying American, but they suck. They're 10 to 15 years behind in technology, and they're overpriced, and you just don't get the same drone that you get with the DJI.
Right.
And so that's kind of the bad part about it is, everybody wants to buy American, but you're going to pay a lot more for a lot less if you do it that way. They just need to catch up in technology. Hopefully, at some point they'll work something out to where DJI builds a factory over here and starts manufacturing over in our country. And then I guarantee you they won't be worried about national security if it creates jobs. Because if they were worried about national security, you wouldn't allow any drone in. And so,
right.
That's
yeah.
But yeah, man. So talked about that, talked about shooting, talked about some tracks. You got anything else on your end, man?
I think we're good for the night. We're getting close to an hour anyway, so it's all worked out.
We've talked about this leg shooting and this bat and low, the wrong caliber and the wrong shot. Me and him talk about this every night. One thing I do want to talk about, and we're going to talk about it every week, on this podcast. Luke and I on here. When we have guests, I just want to remind everybody, hey, we're going to keep it clean. We're going to honor God. We're going to honor Jesus on everything that we do. And I want to make sure that's a part of every podcast, every platform, anything that I do, I want to honor him in that. So with that, I'd heard something in Sunday school, and I thought it a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to bring it to you guys. I just thought it was profound. I wish I would have came up with this, but man, it was a good statement. So anyway, here we go. So we'll talk from John chapter 10, verses 27 and 28, where Jesus said, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish, and no one will snatch them out of my hand." But he talks about following him. And, a lot of times when you're talking to people, people that are away from the faith and non-Christian, their biggest hurdle to come to church, their biggest hurdle to Christ is other Christians. And, you'll hear it. And look, I've been on this end. I can't fault you, but I've been on this end. Hey, I would go to church, man. I got so tired of hearing hypocrites or people were mean to me. They judged me. They did all these things to me. Well, here's the thing. Jesus never told you to follow Christians. He told you to follow him. And so that is when I heard that the other day, I was like, man, that is profound. And this is just one scripture in which he's telling you that to follow me, and my sheep will know who I am. But if we put our eyes on him, and get them off of man, and quit letting those distractions keep us away from God. You know, there's salvation in that. You know, at the end of the day, we're going to have to stand before a holy God, and we're going to have to give account for everything that we did. And we can't say that we did not follow his son who gave his life for us because somebody made us mad at a church. That's not going to fly. So anyway, I just want to leave that with you guys. You know, I love you guys, praying for you, man. Enjoy doing this. And, you know, hey, thanks for watching. Luke, you got anything else, man?
Yeah, thank you guys for watching, man. It's been fun on these past 2 episodes. Looking for episode number 3 next week.
That's right. We're going to probably have some drone guys and some dog trackers on here. That's going to be, we're trying to get this thing going to where we're, you know, work some of these bugs out, and we're going to start having, you know, guests on here. I can't wait to do that, especially game warden.
Yeah, we're getting somewhere. I mean, we went into this last week had no clue what we were doing, but it's all come together, and you know, we'll see where it goes from here.
Sounds good. Well, hey, we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you guys. Y'all have a good one.
See ya.